Monarch didn't just rescue Li Sha. They made the worst strategic mistake in the history of the Monsterverse, and it may have just triggered the kind of Titan escalation that forces even Godzilla to respond. Season 2 of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters doesn't ease back into the story, it detonates it. A new Titan crosses into our world. A high-ranking Monarch leader is killed instantly. A supposedly dead tactician returns, and by the end of the premiere, the balance that has quietly held this universe together feels dangerously unstable. Before we break it down piece by piece, here's what this episode truly accomplishes. It resets power, emotionally and geopolitically. Monarch is fractured. The Titans are no longer contained by territory, and the generational scars running through this family are about to collide with the consequences of the past. Now, let's talk about why this premiere changes everything. The episode opens in 2017 on Skull Island at an Apex cybernetics outpost that has absolutely no business being there. That detail alone should make longtime Monsterverse fans uneasy. Apex is not a neutral player. Their presence on Skull Island implies ambition, experimentation, or exploitation, none of which end well in this universe. And then, Kong arrives. Kong doesn't show up as a villain. He shows up as a boundary enforcer. Skull Island is his territory, and the Monsterverse has consistently portrayed him as territorial, reactive, and deeply aware of intrusions. His destruction of the outpost is not random violence, it's a warning. That opening matters because it reinforces a key truth. Titans are not chaotic beasts wandering aimlessly. They respond to imbalance, they respond to disruption, and humanity keeps disrupting. But Kong is not the real threat of this episode. That title belongs to Titan X. The brilliance of the premiere lies in how it split its attention between timelines. In 1957, we return to Santa Soledad in southern Chile, where young Li Sha, Keiko, and Bill Randa are investigating a sea serpent myth that dates back 2 centuries. This isn't a throwaway legend. The locals speak of worship. They speak of the sea providing. They speak as if this creature is not just real, but cyclical. And that line, "they worship him and the sea provides," is the thematic seed of the entire episode. The show is telling us something critical. Titan X is not new. He is ancient. He is embedded in culture. He has an ecological function. This is where the Monsterverse often excels. Titans are not merely destructive, they are forces of balance. When we saw Godzilla in 2014, he wasn't framed as evil, he was framed as corrective. So the question becomes, what does Titan X correct? In the present timeline, Kate's desperate attempt to rescue Li Sha from the Axis Mundi portal goes catastrophically wrong. Instead of a clean extraction, it becomes an invitation. Titan X crosses over, and that crossing is not subtle. Monarch's deputy director, Natalia Verdugo, is killed almost instantly, swatted aside by a tentacle with brutal efficiency. There's no dramatic buildup, no prolonged struggle. It's a statement. Power means nothing in front of a Titan. That moment does 2 things simultaneously. First, it raises the stakes immediately. Second, it destabilizes Monarch internally. A power vacuum opens, and in organizations like Monarch, vacuums create chaos. But the bigger problem isn't political, it's geographical. Titan X escapes into the ocean. And in the Monsterverse, the ocean is not neutral territory. It belongs to Godzilla. The show doesn't confirm his involvement. It doesn't need to. The implication is enough. Whenever a Titan begins moving through deep water ecosystems, the possibility of Godzilla's intervention looms. Not because he is heroic, but because he is regulatory. Godzilla responds to imbalance. If Titan X is not supposed to be here, if he's an invasive variable, then eventually something ancient will respond. Now let's examine Titan X more closely. He is introduced not as a mindless destroyer, but as something almost mythological. His backstory connects him to scarab-like creatures in the 1957 timeline. Those creatures are not simple monsters. They are durable, aggressive, difficult to kill. Li Sha struggles against one during his portal return, and that struggle is important. It shows vulnerability. It shows that these creatures are extensions of something larger, and one of them makes it through. That detail should terrify you more than Titan X entering the ocean. Because a Titan moving across the planet is one threat. A biological extension infiltrating Monarch's base is another. If those scarabs function as scouts, parasites, or tracking organisms, Monarch may not just be hunting Titan X, it may already be compromised by him. This shifts the predator-prey dynamic entirely. For decades, Monarch has operated under the assumption that it studies Titans, contains them, tracks them. But what if Titan X is tracking Monarch? That possibility alone reframes the entire season. Now let's talk about Li Sha. Season 1 ended with what felt like a definitive sacrifice. Kurt Russell's portrayal of Shaw gave us a man willing to stay behind so others could return home. It was emotionally satisfying. It had weight. And now he's back. The key question is whether that return cheapens the sacrifice. The premiere avoids that trap by attaching consequence to his survival. Kate's attempt to bring him back directly unleashes Titan X. Shaw's return is not triumphant, it's catastrophic. That's smart storytelling. But it also sets up something more complicated, the ideological clash between Shaw and Keiko. Keiko, now displaced in time, represents Monarch's founding idealism, curiosity, scientific wonder, a desire to understand Titans rather than weaponize them. Shaw, shaped by decades of conflict and containment strategy, represents pragmatism. If both of them rise in Monarch's leadership following Verdugo's death, then this season won't just be about Titans clashing, it will be about philosophy clashing. What is Monarch supposed to be? A research organization, a military response unit, a gatekeeper, a manipulator? And this is where the generational theme hits hardest. Hiroshi's double life, the secret families, the compartmentalization, is not just a personal flaw. It mirrors the emotional triangle of the 1950s timeline between young Lee, Keiko, and Bill Randa. Wyatt Russell portrays a younger Shaw caught in romantic tension. Anders Holm's Bill Randa is part of that emotional triangle. Keiko's divided heart echoes decades later in her son's divided life. The editing makes that parallel explicit. Monarch isn't just passing down secrets about Titans, it's passing down emotional fractures. Kate confronts Hiroshi about having two families, and his answer reveals something painful. He loved them both, but only one life could understand Monarch. The other had to remain in the dark. Secrecy is not just institutional in this world, it's personal. And now Keiko must confront the present version of Monarch and the present version of her son, shaped by decades of concealment. This is where the premiere elevates itself beyond creature spectacle. The Titans are external manifestations of imbalance, but the humans are carrying their own internal imbalances. Now let's project forward. Where is Titan X headed? The ocean gives him global reach. He could return to Chile, completing the mythological cycle established in 1957. He could surface near a major population center, forcing public revelation. Or he could dive deeper, disturbing ecosystems tied to other dormant Titans. The key difference between Titan X and Kong is territory. Kong is bound to land and island. His inability to pursue Titan X into deep water is symbolic. His jurisdiction ends at the shoreline. If escalation happens, it won't be Kong finishing this fight. It will be Godzilla. And if that confrontation occurs, it won't simply be about dominance. It will be about balance. If Titan X represents an unnatural intrusion into this timeline, Godzilla's appearance would not be vengeance. It would be correction. But here's the terrifying possibility. What if Titan X isn't an intruder? What if it belongs? If Titan X is tied to ancient oceanic cycles and worshipped ecosystems, then perhaps humanity disrupted something sacred by opening the portal. Perhaps this is not invasion, it's restoration. If that's true, Monarch isn't defending the world, it's interfering with it. The premiere doesn't answer that question. It doesn't need to. It plants it. And that's what makes this episode effective. It doesn't overwhelm the screen with non-stop destruction. Instead, it destabilizes every pillar quietly and strategically. Leadership is broken. Ideology is uncertain. The ocean is no longer quiet, and something ancient is moving through the deep.
By the time the credits roll, the Monsterverse feels larger and more dangerous than it did an hour ago. Monarch didn't just rescue Li Sha. They tore open a boundary. They released a titan with mythology behind it. They lost a leader, and they may have triggered a chain reaction that forces the true alpha of the oceans to rise. Season 2 is not setting up a simple monster hunt. It's setting up a reckoning. Because this time, humanity didn't discover a titan by accident. They pulled him through. And if balance demands a response, it won't be subtle. It will be seismic.